I'll call this.
I was really discovering all these stuff, all these stuff now, you got the 15,000 all taken care of.
Yeah.
Right, good.
And I will ask the secretary to call roll.
Hopper.
Here.
Porter.
Here.
Warwick. Here. Wagner.
Here.
Alden.
Yes.
Ramirez.
Here. There we go, we have a, full contingent of commissioners. Commissioner Ramirez is on vacation, and Commissioner Wagner, apparently banged the knee up, so they are both joining us remotely tonight. How's that come along, Joe?
I think one of the things that seems to be the recovery is a bit slow, but it's coming.
Good deal. Okay. As always, I would ask if any commissioners have a conflict of interest on any of the items that are before us. Hearing and seeing none, I'll take us to special presentations, of which I don't believe there are any. Doesn't look like there are. So, that is the time then to ask if there's anyone in the public that would like to address the Urban Renewal Council this month. Again, nobody there. Okay. So that takes us to the consent calendar. There's a motion to dispose of the consent calendar. Mr. Chair. Mr. Hawkins.
I move that we accept the consent calendar as presented.
To move to accept the consent calendar as printed, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Warwick. Any discussion? Would the secretary call roll, please?
Alden.
Yes.
Ramirez.
Yes.
Hopper.
Yes.
Porter. Yes. Warwick. Yes. Wagner.
Yes.
The calendar is approved unanimously. That takes us to old business. As always, when we consider old business, first on is Mr. Cole.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, thank you for giving me a few minutes to share some of the projects we're working on. Three on my list on the industrial end, Project North, of course that's North Branch, that we're looking at on Highway 2026. Continue to work very closely with the Mall Venture Aquas group that has purchased that, as well as our own staff, people that are working very diligently in order to build the necessary infrastructure, getting that into place. It does sound as though the annexation and rezoning will be going to the hearing examiner later this month, and then will be presented to City Council in September. So we're excited to see that project happen. I know that they're working very closely with some commercial folks as well as some industrial leads and a number of leads that we're sharing with them on that particular piece of property. So we'll continue to work with them. The next project on this is Project Prometheus. This is one that had been on the list for a while. It was a lead that came to us from the Boise Valley Economic Partnership during the whole COVID issue, which I think is still going on, I believe. But, yes, exactly. So, anyway, it has come back, and it is now being considered into the Boise Valley. Months and months ago, our area, again, Boise Valley area, or as the mayor would refer to the Caldwell area, I should say, we were one of 4 sites that were chosen to submit, and so I will be on a call tomorrow morning. I'll see if we're still being considered for that. The site needs, the user needs about 80 acres, and it is light industrial use. So we'll continue to work with our partners at the Boise Valley Economic Partnership on that. Project Spirit was on my list as well, another feedback lead, a couple hundred jobs that we're looking at there. They were looking at developing office space, kind of class-based space. Again, tomorrow on the call, I'll find out if that is still an active project. I've got a listed project call-up, but Mr. Jenkins is going to share a little bit more about that project as he's the lead on that one. Project Rapper, again, Boise Valley Economic Partnership lead, light industrial use. There were 2 sites in the Urban Renewal District that we submitted for that one. That being, again, they were looking for some land. And that was North Ranch and the John Lottie property. That's at the corner of Aviation and Highway 2026. Project Ranger, a new project, from a site selector specifically. They were looking at an expansion of an existing business, within the valley. That is about 100 new jobs will be coming to the valley, so we're still in consideration for that one. Project Scope, a newer project, we've been working with, again, Paul Venture Office on a potential warehousing distribution project for North Ranch area. This was a project actually that BVA, not to be confused with BVEP, but BVA, brought to us, and so we've had some discussions regarding that. Project Northwest Sandpiper, sorry. We continue to work with those guys, and they definitely came from Idaho Commerce on an expansion for a manufacturing distribution center. Project Equip, we have listed, this is, basically Wolf Development that purchased the Anacre piece. They are looking at, they've, recently, or if they have not completed, they're very close to completing their, 87,000 square foot, warehouse distribution, facility. We're actually working with them on an additional property that they may be able to lease. It's airport property. They obviously could not build vertically on it, but it would be an opportunity or situation where they may be able to put down a small lay-down yard or parking. They are now talking about their second building, which they're proposing at this point about a 260,000 square foot building. We actually have already had roundtable discussions with them on that side, so we'll continue to work with them. What they are also looking at is the possibility of acquiring the 2 residential properties that are still within the Sky Ranch area. Between the 2, that's an additional 5 acres. They would be looking at egress, probably onto, we're going to put more access onto Speed Parkway, utilizing those 2 lots. So I think it's an intricate part of their future development. So I do know that they have that property under contract and they're working with them. So we'll continue to work with Wolf Development and their partners in making that happen. We'll continue to work with the Treasure Valley Community College on the development of their aircraft maintenance facility. As you're very well aware, there was the acquisition of the airplane hangar. That was, again, thank you for your efforts in that. We will be very soon negotiating the lease with them on that building. They're really kind of extremely anxious to get in there, start working, getting everything ready. They're anticipating classes to begin fall of next year. So they have other partners involved. They're, as far as aircraft, putting together the criteria and curriculum for the classes. So they are moving very, very quickly, as quickly as they possibly can toward that type of program. So we're excited to be a partner in that process. And then the Caldwell Innovation Center, we're continuing to work with them, and on the items that I listed there, we're working closely with the Idaho Tech Council, Southwest Idaho Manufacturers Alliance, USDA will be working with them, University of Idaho, and TechCo, also along with TPCC. So we're looking at some multiple sites, potentially both in the city, in the urban renewal district, as well as possibly some sites outside of the city limits for test plots that might be available. There is a farmer that we may be working with that would be offering some property to allow for some testing to occur. A lot of issues still need to be kind of finalized on that, but we're still very much in the process of doing that. And then a new project that does, a couple of new projects we're working on. West Coast 10 is a project that again, we've been working with the Boise Valley Economic Partnership on that one. That looks very, very promising for us. We're one of several communities still being considered for that particular project. And then the most recent one is a Project Robin, again, a VBAT lead that came to us. And we have just last week made final submittals under that. So on the industrial end, things continue to stay busy on the warehousing distribution. They continue to be busy. We have a couple of representatives here actually today from Strider Group, and I was just chatting with them prior to this, and the buildings that they have put out in Sky Ranch, which are beautiful buildings, all 3 are now fully leased. So we're very, very excited to have that partnership and having strata groups within our community. So Scott and guys, thanks so much for that. So with that, I'll stand for any questions right now.
Thank you, Paul. Any questions from Commissioner members?
Mr. Chairman, what's going on with McKean this fall? Is there anything happening?
Mr. Chairman and, Mr. Porter, I've had discussions, I've had communication, I should say, with them. It's been, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Of course, with COVID, the product they would be looking at in the Caldwell area is primarily in restaurants, with the restaurant business being as it is. It has delayed that. They are right now in a situation where, Mr. Jones, you might correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they have right now until March, probably around the end of March. I think they signed and everything closed was in September of last year. 18 months takes us to March of 2021 in order for them to actually begin construction. We've had some communication with them on that point, and then they've got some growth on some of their lots that need to be addressed, and I've had some communication with them on that one as well. So at this point, I have nothing solid other than the fact that their comment to me was, we own the land, we hope and plan to develop it. Sorry.
To follow up this quarter, there is an agreement that they do have to begin construction by date certain in March, and so I've asked Mr. Paul to begin marketing and actively promoting that land is available after March. So hopefully, if they don't get it started, there's somebody that's going to be working on it.
Thank you.
Any other questions from Mr. Paul?
Just one side note regarding that too, I actually have had a lead asking about that property.
So, good, thank you. Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Paul.
Thank you.
That takes us to Mr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate that, Commissioners. Good evening. So I'll start off with, I'm focusing on public art, and that was one of the agenda items of July that I've been working with diligently on, and I'm working with the planning and zoning department to get something on paper regarding the process. And we've received some inquiries about public art downtown, and we just feel like we need to structure the program and get something here. And we talked with some neighboring cities to see what they're doing and look at a few templates that we would like. So just be on the lookout for that process to continue to unfold. The Expedition Baseball League, they're moving forward. As you all know, they left off, they're working on a lease at Wolf Field. But as the president was here in town, Steve Wagner, he had a really pleasant visit, looked at Wolf Field, and then came in here and spoke with during a special meeting. And he felt like things went really well. I thought it was well received by the folks that were involved. And he hopes to have a team here in Caldwell in 2021. So that process is looking very promising at this point. Project Pellet, they are a large retailer. They're seeking a store location in corporate headquarters here in town. They're also looking for a distribution center at that corporate headquarters. So that would be great. They're looking at various areas within Caldwell. They're not locked in or honed in one area, but they know they want to be here. So that's a good time. We're unfolding a retail recruitment plan in economic development as well. We're working off of the list that was formed back in 2016. Years before my time here with the Buxton Group out of Dallas, Texas, that came and did an analysis for the city of Caldwell. And we're using leads and different gaps of retail, restaurants, retailers in our area, and we're trying to fill those gaps with those retailers. So we're picking that back up and we're adding to it as we go. I can tell you I've had some really good touch points this past month and looking to follow up on those leads as well. Just downtown activity, 2C Wine Down, they just opened up, so please, when you have a chance, feel free to pop in and show them some love when you can. Extreme Pizza is also looking to open. They're undergoing some extreme renovation, and they're hoping to open in September. So that's looking very, very, very good at this point. And then lastly, update to Kickstart Caldwell, the next kind of mode of evolution that we're working on for the program is to spotlight the participants that are in Kickstart Caldwell. So just keep a lookout on social media for those notifications, and feel free to share and send along. What we're trying to do is highlight those businesses, showcase their accommodations, and making sure people are aware of what they do, who they are, and what they're trying to do throughout COVID-19. And with that, I have any questions that you want me to ask.
Mr. Jenkins, any questions for Mr. Jenkins? Mr. Jenkins, yes, Mr.
I don't know whether you or the other Steve know, but is the Chamber of Commerce doing anything yet, or are they still kind of in standby mode?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I know that they have an executive director at this point,
Mm-hmm.
Cheryl, so she's on board, and they're a part of Kickstart Caldwell as well. So they're beginning to do some more things in the community, so they're picking it back up.
Good, good.
Yeah.
You have a question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Anthony. All right, takes us to item 3 of our business. This is to consider a resolution to authorize the execution of an independent contract agreement, LJ Wait, for evaluation of the new or revised Caldwell event for the new area. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was my pleasure tonight to fill up your packet virtually with the next 3 old business items, all important ones. This item with the LJ Way as a consultant is similar to what we had, well, it's almost identical to what we did last year. As you are aware, LJ consulted with us on assisting in the evaluation of that Caldwell North urban renewal area, the new urban renewal area, and chief among his responsibilities was crafting the feasibility study, which is a detailed accounting process that is required by the Local Economic Development Act. And we didn't have success ultimately in working with the county on that, as you know, but we have regrouped and we anticipate anxiously perhaps the new county commissioners first year that might be more favorable for looking at the benefits of the new urban renewal area. So we envision reevaluating and moving forward with that very similar proposal this fall. We would be looking at bringing it before the county commissioners after the first of the year. So much of the work is done, but all those numbers change and they need to be updated. There's been some law that has passed that questions whether the highway districts will be participants in that. All that needs to be evaluated, and we'll change the numbers that are in that feasibility study. So that's really what this is about, is hiring LJ. I know at the last meeting, we talked about whether he was the right person for the job. He's certainly capable. He's done it before. He's familiar with Camden County's Caldwell. So it seemed like a good fit. With that, I would stand for the questions.
The questions, Mr. Helge, on the resolution concerning the impact contract.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Helge?
I don't think you, was you here last time we talked about this? Yeah. I have some real reservations about it, not about the urban renewal area, because I'm 100% behind that. Our success is what I have reservations about. And I realize we have a change in administration of the county. Just looking ahead, will there be any other changes that we see when we go back to the county? Will there be anything else we see that will make it more palatable or anything to improve our success rate?
There's, you know, that my take, just to be very candid with you, the dynamic at the county is, you have one commissioner strongly in favor, one commissioner strongly opposed, and one that's kind of on the fence. It appears that we will have 2 that are in favor. There's a lot of pressure put on those commissioners by the rest of the elected officials.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate that will change. But this is profoundly important to the city of Caldwell. We need the county's cooperation, and, you know, where I'm not a decision maker, I'm just, the attorney, I think it's worth a shot, because it guides the next 20 years. And really, I think we could see that come along faster in that area. I'm not selling it, but you know, it's good. I think it's something we need to do. There were some things in that plan that we probably will reevaluate. The difficult part of doing urban renewal under existing law, and the plan that we've been operating here under for the last 22 years came into existence under a different legislative scheme, where you could talk about the kinds of things that you wanted to do in your urban renewal area, and then craft projects that would sort of go along with furthering those urban renewal goals. Now, the requirement is that you have to pre-plan all of your projects, including the budget and the expense and so forth. And when you get to where you're forecasting what what a plan looks like over a 20-year horizon, which you're still authorized to do under the urban renewal law. We recognized early on that was a difficult task. And so what we tried to do was put in projects that we might want to do. Because you can't amend your plan either. That's another change that has been made in the legislature. So you can't react to changing circumstances in your plan. And we have to plan very specifically for something that's going to last 20 years. So that was the challenge. And so we wound up in that plan with things like parking structures and public buildings, and frankly, things that as we sit here today, it's a little hard to envision out there off of exit 26. 15 years from now, it might make sense, but if you don't have it in your plan, you can't even consider it. So that was, I think, the balance we were trying to do, and that raised some eyebrows. I thought, as I explained that to the county personnel, that they sort of nodded their head and understood the challenge that we had. It didn't mean we were definitely going to do that, or that we recognized an immediate need for that, or that there would ever be a need within this planning horizon to do that. It meant that if we didn't put a plan, we couldn't do it. That was kind of how we landed where we did. But I think it makes sense to probably reevaluate some of that stuff, and you know, try not to raise as many eyebrows. You know, the difficult dynamic was, I thought that you know, it was being very critically analyzed in an effort to find faults, and that would perhaps be the case.
The other elected officials were, like you said, applying a lot of pressure. And I asked this question before, but I don't understand. We were under a timeline, making or breaking in December. Will we have one similarly this year?
Yeah, the timeline stays the same year over year. It's basically that's the tax year. So, but, we have the plan there, we have everything we did last year. It's just a question of tweaking it a little bit to make it fit better, more powerful in year down the road, so. I don't think it's not the lift that it was last year.
Okay.
And that's the hope. It isn't an insignificant lift, and, yeah, the rate's gonna be very busy. I guess part of what, we have to do in terms of education, and I'm hopeful that, we will have a stronger nation argument as we begin next year. These department heads and appointed officials and elected officials who oppose this simply don't understand it. There's no harm to any of what they do and what this brings. There's only, growth and options down the road and better futures, so. They really just don't understand the mechanism if they oppose it.
The thing at the forefront of everybody's mind is property taxes right now. It's being discussed in every conversation. And accurate or inaccurate urban renewal is thrown in as a cost for an increase in property tax. And that's why I'm saying this cell that we're working on, again, urban renewal has done wonders for Caldwell. I'm trying to, I want to be successful in what I do it. So,
It does not cause property tax increases. County budgets that increase year over year are what cause tax increases.
yeah.
And that is exactly the issue at hand, because they get all the taxes they get today. It's only when your real rates causes things happen, wouldn't know what's happening.
Exactly.
That tax revenue is generated is for the renewals. So, it's understanding the mechanism, and understanding how it works. You're held harmless, and you can't take urban renewal taxes in addition to the increases you normally do your budget.
No, I know, yeah.
So it doesn't change what that is.
Right, I know.
So,
Anyway, I just like to, it's been something that's really been on the forefront of a lot of conversation.
Yeah.
And thank you, I appreciate it.
any other questions for Mr. Hilton on the independent contractor agreement? Okay, then I would entertain a motion on this position of the resolution, which I will read by title. It's a resolution of the Caldwell Urban Renewal Agency authorizing the execution of the independent contractor agreement with LJ Wade for evaluation and feasibility study of a new or revised Caldwell urban renewal area. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Porter has moved for approval of this agreement. Second by Ms. Warwick. Any further discussion? Would the Secretary call the roll?
Warner,
Yes.
Warwick. Yes. Wagner,
Yes.
Allgood,
Yes.
Ramirez,
Yes.
Hopper.
Yes. That agreement passes. That takes us to a resolution now, to consider development and disposition agreements with Russell Construction for the formerly known Caldwell Equipment Center. Mr. Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, you're all familiar with this project. It's been in development for quite some time. I think you authorized the RFP late last year. We have been, working with Muscle Construction. I've been working with, both Mike Muscle, the principal, and his, legal team on putting together, the development disposition agreement that's in your packet tonight. It involves, just so everybody's clear, the Cleveland Event Center on, Blaine Street, and then the adjoining parking lot, which is on the corner of, Kimball and Cleveland, that has been, most recently, a used car lot. As you know, the agency has an option to purchase that. And what would be contemplated here is that the agency would exercise that option to purchase, and then it would be, property would be transferred to Muscle Construction along with, the primary building. The price, that will be paid is the value established by the redevelopment appraisal, which is how we've done business on these other RFPs, and it is, of course, the primary financial incentive, for the development. The timeframe, and this is going to be true of when we talk about, site improvement in the next, development disposition agreement as well. These proposals came in really before, the coronavirus, upset occurred earlier this year. And we began to hear early on in the negotiating process on the DDAs that these uses, both of these uses are, hospitality related, in-house dining, although of course this one, the event center, is going to be more of a mixed use. The anchor tenant, is, I think, still intending to be a restaurant, and that created some timeline concerns. So as we moved through the development disposition agreement, in particular the schedule, which is, I think the third exhibit C, to this, we granted some grace there over what was proposed by the developer in their RFP response. And again, that was done when the economy was roaring, we didn't have any coronavirus. And so that would be, for this one, major change from what was proposed is, a timeframe that's a little bit more relaxed. Just to run down that, the design review, and I think there is a title on the exhibit, if I'm correct, Mr. Chairman, you executed. Design review would be completed by, the end of this year, December 2020, with a building permit issued in April of 2021, followed by about 20 months to complete construction, both inside and out, and then being open for business in, December 1st of 2022. So again, that represents a little bit of a time frame extension, but probably at this point not unreasonable in my opinion. I did invite Mr. Muscle or any of his team members to join us online. Anybody on? Okay. It doesn't look like they took me up on my offer, but I would certainly stand for questions you have about this.
Any questions for Mr. Hill? All right. I will entertain a motion for the resolution that would, allow us to move forward with the DDA with Mr. Russell.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Warwick,
I move we adopt that resolution.
can move to adopt the resolution, and I probably have missed the word not. Right, it's titled, the record yet, but we'll do that now. This is a resolution of the Colorado Renewal Agency authorizing the execution of the development and disposition agreement with Muscle Construction Incorporated, Iowa Corporation, the site located at 711 Cleveland Boulevard, Colorado. That is a resolution we will move forward, right, Ms. Warwick? Is there a second then? Second. Second by Mr. Allgood. Any further discussion? Would the Secretary call roll, please?
Warwick, Wagner,
Yes.
Allgood,
Yes.
Ramirez,
Yes.
Hopper,
Yes.
Porter.
Yes.
All right, so that resolution is adopted. Mr. Duffy, you've got another resolution for us.
Mr. Chairman. This one's site 8 Brewing, so this is the site adjacent to the plaza across Kimball where Mr. C's carpet building has been over the last few years. As you know, this one, the selected developer was site 8 Brewing out of the Grand Oregon, and they came and presented to you, so you're very familiar with what they proposed. This one did involve negotiating some significant changes from the RFP that they submitted. As you might recall, there was discussion in there about leaving the Mr. C's building in place, renovating it, and then leasing back from the agency or the city. I think early on in that process, we began to tell them it's really not the vision that we had. And they were amenable to basically skip through to phase 2, and they understand they're gonna get a site that's shovel ready, and they're gonna build out their full build out now. And by now, of course, we've got a little flexibility in schedule, and I'll get to that. But the proposal is, and the development disposition agreement does address this, that what they're promising to do is to build out what they anticipated to be their final occupancy, their final building with the outdoor seating and the brewing facilities and so forth. Again, this will be transferred based on the value established through a redevelopment appraisal. I've been negotiating with Boise Attorney Jeff Worrell, who you guys probably know, and is very experienced in these items. He is representing Site A in this transaction. Again, the Exhibit C is the planned timeframe for construction, and there are some minor adjustments that were made to the one that you had in your packet. And the way this kind of came together, we were up against the deadline last week. I went with what I had, and I told them that's what I was doing. I told them that if they had tweaks to it, that they could get those to be by today, and I would present those changes. The only changes that they made were to the development schedule, and those are not significant changes in my reading. What was in there was kind of a progression, following the time in which the appraisal would be obtained, they had design review and a building permit issued, and other permits to be obtained, and so forth, and those things followed on and kind of, it was a logical sequence in time. They've changed that to basically set 18 months from today as the start of construction. Okay, so they're sort of lumped together on the same day, design review and building permits, their operational permits, like their alcohol permit would have to be in place, and the start of physical construction. So all of that would be February 10th of 2022, 18 months from today they would start. They would be done by September 1st of 2022. So this site would be about 7 months in construction. Again, that's not how long it takes to do this project. That is a reasonable buffer that they anticipate based on needing to kind of get through the COVID downturn here, particularly for their business. Other than that, the DDA is as set forth in your packet. It is, of course, very similar to the one that was crafted for the Cleveland Event Center. I also invited them to participate online. I don't see anybody there, Brent. And so I would stand for questions.
Questions for Mr. Duffy on the side of the proposed item?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Ramirez. Oh, no, Jared, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. So I actually had some pretty serious concerns about the timeline they already have. So whether they're actually even extending it more, I make those concerns even greater. I get it, everybody's saying with COVID and whatever, but, and I had a little bit of them with the other ones too, but it was a little further off the process. Maybe more serious as this one, but, I'm down there today at the project, and it's hopping. My business that I have on the project, we are almost double our business of what we had last time. So there's going to go down. Recently, it's actually busier than what was left. And so that long process is vacant for 2 more years before it's something does get a lot of concern on approval, just based on the fact that when can we get something in sooner? So, I mean, are they basing it completely on, water is waiting so long, that lot built on, and opening up so much to do it, no question.
Just follow up, Mr. Murphy.
I did, and I don't necessarily disagree, Commissioner Wagner, I understand what you're talking about. A couple things that I think we're learning, and this will come out when I give you an update on Creekside. Part of the difficulty I think they're facing is the availability of lending for this type of use, that there is a conservatism surrounding new development for restaurants, because of the COVID situation and the lower revenues. So that might be part of what the concern is that's causing the desire for delay. The other thing is about kind of their business model, and I'll defer to Mr. Full comment, because I think he went on a fact-finding mission about 6 times up to LaGrange to sample the goods at Side Brewing and reported favorably on it, but
Oh, yeah, I never read into that.
the business model that they have is, very community-oriented. So instead of having individual tables and booths, they have these long tables where you would be encouraged to sit with people that you don't know, which sounds dangerous today, but 6 months ago, it sounded super cool. And I think they don't necessarily have a sports pub vibe, not a lot of TVs and stuff. They're looking at it being very much a community gathering place. And that might present some pause, for them, just based on their particular vision and their particular business model.
And I guess I would add that even though this is the date in the schedule, would not prohibit them from moving fast. And should circumstances change and the financing and all that resolve itself earlier, they can certainly still move faster. And we'll encourage them, Mr. Wagner, won't we, to do it faster.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of, I'm still, I was sort of, that, the left date, they can always do it quicker, but I know if they were to come back for it even more of an extension, that would be very difficult pill to swallow at that time.
I would agree with that.
I can certainly convey that.
Any other questions for Mr. Hilton? Okay. Back to the Bible. Read it into the record. This is a resolution. Thank you, Ron. This is a resolution of the Caldwell Urban Renewal Agency authorizing execution of development and disposition agreement with Side A Brewing LLC and Oregon Limited Liability Company for the site located generally easterly of the intersection of South Kimball, North Street, and downtown Caldwell. We take a motion on disposition of that resolution and the attached communique. As modified, with Mr. Hilton's comment.
Mr. Chair,
Kelly.
I would make that motion, but I would certainly echo Commissioner Wagner's concerns, and I would please express those.
Approve DDA with a strong emphasis on getting it done sooner than later.
Absolutely.
Second by Ms. Warwick. Any other discussion? Secretary call the roll.
Alden,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Hopper,
Yes.
Porter,
Yes.
Warwick, yes, Wagner.
Yes.
Thank you. That resolution has taken effect. That takes us now to a public hearing, which is action item number 1, new business. Public hearing pursuant to Idaho Code 50-1002. The consideration of the proposed budget for the village of City Hall for our fiscal year, which begins October 1st, 2020, and ends September 30th, 2021. Ms. Mitchell.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. Thank you. Tonight, you have before you the public hearing, and we're going to see if anybody has signed up for any testimony. Last month, we presented to you the budget, the tentative budget. At this point in time, no changes have been made to your urban renewal tentative budget that has been posted in the paper. So currently, in the general fund, the proposed expenditures are $20,240,835. proposed tax increment, non-tax increment funding. This is coming from like, rental revenues of $778,480. And the tax increment revenue being proposed for fiscal year 21 is going to be $10,253,693. Total revenues of $11,032,173, with the use of proposed fund balance at $9,208,662, thus making your fiscal year 2021 budget a balanced budget. With that, I'll stand for questions.
Any questions for Ms. Mitchell on the, proposed budget? We've been through this one a couple of times, so I appreciate that. Ms. Mitchell?
I'm looking through our list of all those that are scheduled to, speak to this public hearing, and we have no one. So I would entertain a motion then to, if somebody else out there is last minute wants to raise their hand and talk about it? No, okay.
But I'll ask a question.
Please, come forward and we need your name and, address for the record.
Scott Thompson, 8727 West 13, Boise. We actually were the ones mentioned by Steve. We purchased 19 acres from you guys 4 or 5 years ago. We put up 180,000 square feet of industrial building. We own a piece actually was also in the urban renewal agency between 43rd and 45th on Cleveland Boulevard. We would like to discuss in the future, and so I'm kind of asking about the budget process. The lake intersection comes in an angle compared to R30 or 43rd, and so that's sort of a problem for our development process. We're starting the process of getting some engineering estimates for redirecting that intersection. We have a traffic study done by Kittleson in conjunction with the city of Caldwell. It was approved by the Idaho Department of Transportation while it was still in charge of the, while that was still a business loop. It's not anymore, So anyway, I just don't want to close this budget hearing without understanding if there's some flexibility to propose a project, that could be completed in 2021.
So we do have, projects on the books for Lake Avenue on Houston, through Boulevard, and that one that we're talking about a little bit, but I don't know, we haven't had Mr. Orton here tonight, and I don't know if we have any plans for improving the lake, and Boulevard.
And we haven't put anything in front of this.
I understand, but I don't know what we may or may not have plans for that. I'll defer to him first.
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Scott, nice to see you. This, there has been work, put together, and Scott has coordinated closely with the engineering department. And so there are plans for what would need to happen and how the intersection would be reconfigured. Kittleson, as Scott mentioned, not only did he provide a traffic study, but he also has some design, reconfigure that intersection geometry and concept, so that we know what would look like to make it safer and mitigate the skew that's out there. What I'm trying to recall, I can't tell you right off the top, but maybe we'll look it up during the meeting here, is if there was money placed in the budget to do anything at that intersection, or placed in the projected budget, which would be an unofficial version of the budget anticipated for future years. So I can take a look and see if we've got something pinned down there from the city side. I don't believe we've done any such thing on the urban renewal side.
Yeah, it's too late to add something. We have a tentative budget that has, looking for balancing a lot. So that's a bit of a problem for this in particular, but, we also do have options for next year's budget, so this is certainly something to consider that, and maybe something we can add, to what we're planning to do on these different improvements also, so it sort of makes sense. So, thank you for your input, and we'll see what we can do now.
We'll come with a proposal.
Perfect.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Porter, I would move to close the public hearing.
moved by Mr. Porter to close the public hearing, is there a second? Second by Mr. Altman. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right,
Sorry, I didn't wait long enough, Joe, my bad. Oh, we got you, you and I. So that takes care of the, public hearing. And now, that takes us to the resolution, which will approve the urban renewal agency budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2020. And that resolution reads by title, a resolution of the urban renewal agency of the city of Caldwell, Idaho, approving the budget for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2020. Is there a motion on the resolution? So moved by Mr. Ogden to approve the resolution, second by Mr. Porter. Any further discussion? Secretary call roll, please.
Ogden,
Yes.
Ramirez,
Yes.
Hopper.
Yes.
Porter.
Yes.
Warwick. Yes. Wagner.
Yes.
Okay. That takes us now to item number 3 under the business, which is to consider a resolution authorizing the sale of irrigation equipment. We call urban renewal agency for this position by public auction. Is yours, Mr. Ryan? Oh, Mr. Purdy has this one, sorry. Good, gotcha.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this was actually, Madam Clerk's primarily, and so I'm a little nervous getting up on anything that she has been involved in, because I won't convey it right, and then halfway through my presentation, she'll come walking again. The agency, let me tell you, well, I'll give it a shot. The agency has acquired some irrigation pipe, out along one property we bought in 2026, that I think has no need for it. And so, the question that we discussed last week was, what is the process for the agency to get rid of personal property? The agency has virtually no personal property. And so I looked in the state code and in the plan document itself, and there really wasn't guidance on it. So we decided together that we would just follow the process the city follows, by bringing it to the attention of, the commissioners, having a resolution authorizing this disposition and articulating what we think the fair market value of it. So really, the resolution would authorize, the option sale of the property, which is what would happen if this was a city-owned personal property that was no longer pursued. With that, I'll skip.
Any questions for Mr. Hilton?
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hilton, is this, irrigation equipment from 1998 from the urban renewal, or, continuous form, or is this recent, is it usable, is it young?
It was, no, it's usable. It was acquired with one of the pieces of real estate and then not used. And so so I'm sure it's still in place out there, it needs to go, and it does have that. So that's what brought it.
And Mr. Hilton can have pipe sales and see his resume. Quite, Mr. Kevin? Yeah. Mr. Ramirez.
Yeah, so what, Mr. Hilton mentioned, fair market value. Do we know what that estimate might be at this point in time?
In the resolution, Mr. Ramirez, we believe it's about 50% of its purchase price, when we make it $2.52 per linear foot.
Does that include Mr. Hilton?
Gotcha, thank you.
Probably not. If we include that, it'd be 3 times the retail price. So. Okay, any other questions about this resolution? Anybody need irrigation pipe? There's auction. I would entertain a motion then on this resolution, which is a resolution of the Caldwell Urban Renewal Agency authorizing the sale of irrigation equipment to the Caldwell Urban Renewal Agency for disposition at public auction.
I do read that.
Moved by Ms. Warwick to adopt. Second by Mr. Ramirez. Any further discussion? Please, Secretary, call roll, please.
Warwick. Yes. Wagner.
Yes.
Ogden.
Yes.
Ramirez.
Yes.
Hopper.
Yes.
Porter.
Yes.
All right. You're no longer the irrigation pipe business. No. All right, let's take this item number 4 under the business. These are invoices for the month of August.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. Tonight you have before you a request to approve $167,690 of invoices in the following items. Our monthly economic development report of $18,000, our monthly payment for, attorney fees of $5,940 to, Hamilton West and Hilti. And then the following payments are our VIG payments that we've made commitments with. So our VIG payment number 5 for the period of April through June to Cold Steel Constructors in the amount of $25,000. Fresca in the amount of $25,000 for their VIG payment number 3 for April through June. Capital Distributing for $25,000 for their VIG payment number 2 for April through June. Ampec number 2, this is their VIG payment number 3 of $25,000 for April through June. Price Pump, payment number 2, April through June of $25,000. And Syringa, their payment number 3 for April through June of $18,750. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. I would just comment, that's a fairly impressive list of investments in the city of Colorado. So I'm, good to see all that. You rarely see that all in one place. It's a transcript. That's interesting. All right, any questions for Ms. Mitchell? All right, I entertain a motion then to approve the invoices. Rob? So, moved by Mr. Porter.
Second.
Second by Ms. Warwick. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
I jumped the gun on you again, so my bad.
That's delayed.
You were in favor, not opposed by the time I got through.
Yes, yes.
All right, action item number 5 is consider ratification of invoices that were previously paid. Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chairman, tonight you have before you a request to ratify $2,189,900.08 in items that we have paid between our June and July. And those are for commitment we made to Autumn Gold for $40,000 for their Denver Street project improvement. To the City of Caldwell for the next 3 items. This is for property purchases out of the airport. So we have $1,755,216.75 for the airport land purchase at 5104 East London. That's those 15 plus acres out there. Oh, is it by the terminal on that side? Yeah, thank you. Then we had a hangar acquisition. This was in conjunction with TDCC program, aviation program that Mr. Phillips has spoken about in his monthly report of $221,712.26. And then this is the relocation expenses for the Crownover acquisition that we acquired a couple months ago. So the relocation expenses total $172,971. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Questions from Ms. Mitchell? Mr. Warren?
Mr. Chair, for me, just the board should expect that there will be additional expenses associated with that relocation. That's the rehousing benefit. And so we'll still be seeing their moving reimbursement costs. We're petering out, but there's a couple more trickling expenses that we'll see after that.
We authorized a little over $200,000 in total for that, so it should be another $400,000.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Any other questions or clarifications? Okay, I entertain a motion for ratification of these payments.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ramirez, second by, wait for it, and Mr. Allgood. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 There you go. Any opposed? We're good to go. Okay, treasurer's report, Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you. Chairman, Commissioners, we have before you the treasurer's report. We're going to start in that gray box. We're going to start at the bottom and work our way up. So we have a total of $16,585,540.81. It breaks down into the following accounts. The LGIP account of $116,114.41. Banner Bank CD of $250,380.49, and then the Banner Bank operating account of $16,219,045.91. The Banner Bank operating account breaks down into the following categories or buckets. restricted for other taxing districts of $11,338,998.06. Our, increment, for the city of Cockrell, $3,447,609.82. The TDCC that's restricted, this is the rental income from TDCC, $723,245.86. And then the restricted, job creation, which we call the land account, $709,192.17. Boy, did that one go down. And I went down because of the
Trying to
previous,
change one now.
yeah, the previous items that you guys just approved for ratification.
Okay, I would entertain a motion then for acceptance of the August cash reconciliation report. Moved by Ms. Walrick. Second. Mr. Porter for approval of the reconciliation report. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. That takes us to, Mr. Hilty once again, on an update for Creekside development.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did get, early last week, a hotel study that was sent to me by, the Chase Mixes Group, our selected developer on the Creekside redevelopment project. It is not ready to be made public. It is not a document that I have shared, with, the city or the agency. But I am going to give you, kind of a high-level view of what was determined in this hotel study. Now, before I get into that, there's just as a way of background, you'll recall that there was 120 days of sort of exclusive, due diligence period that we granted to the Chase Mixes Group to take a closer look at, in particular, some of the concerns that we had with their initial proposal, and to further look at feasibility. And so the hotel study is part of that. They've got some other stuff going on. They've got a timeline within which they'll need to get back to us, and I'm guessing that will include, or it has to include, kind of a revised proposal, revised site plan, some revised numbers and some more detailed numbers that we can start to take a look at as we move toward what will hopefully be the next phase, which is the negotiation of a disposition and development agreement, sort of like what you just approved tonight. It'll probably be more detailed, it's a much larger project, more robust project, and so we'll probably kind of start with a different format for something of this magnitude. There's really, to sum up 30 pages of hotel study, they like Caldwell, and they like the prospect of specifically of a boutique hotel in downtown Caldwell. They have looked at the wine trail, the ag industry. They've looked at all of the major employers in the Caldwell area. Of course, they've looked at Indian Creek and many of the community events that we have, college and things that would draw people here to want to stay. And the kinds of folks that would come to those events and what kind of places they would want to be in, and come up with a recommendation that a boutique hotel, as opposed to a large franchise hotel, would be a better fit for downtown Caldwell, which I think from the economic team is what we had hoped for. And so that's all very positive. They're appreciative of all the work that has gone into revitalizing downtown Caldwell. They do have some suggestions for how either the city or the agency could help facilitate that I think are very reasonable and very doable. For example, they found the parking situation in downtown Caldwell to be a strength for developing a boutique hotel because of the available parking within walking distance that is not going to be used tonight, and encouraged the city to craft some sort of permitting that would allow hotel guests to park overnight in the spots. So things that look like they could be accomplished without a great deal of investment or difficulty, just some cooperation really between the city, the agency, and the hotel developer. Of course, the bad part was COVID-19. And it says, I'm just going to read a couple of brief points. The impact of COVID-19 on the hospitality industry has been profound. For an unknown period of time, occupancies will be very low, too low for hotels to achieve profitability, and this will delay development. They anticipate, I'll kind of skip to the end, basically they're saying there's not going to be any kind of, conventional construction lending available for hotel development for 3 to 4 years. So they do, of course, anticipate that this too shall pass, and that COVID will be resolved at some point in the next 3 to 4 years, resolved to the point where they anticipate that hotel occupancy will be back up to pre-COVID levels. And at that point, there will be a little bit of a lag, but then the banks will come along and they will lend on new projects. So I have not talked with the developer about their take on this. This is just, after having read it, what I think we're going to see from them is that they will continue to pursue hotel development as part of their project, and they will be looking at phasing that development for some time down the road. One of the things that I was mentioning this morning to Chairman Hopper that we wanted from them was not simply only do their residential product in the first phase, but to do the hotel in the first phase. They kind of said, we think we can kind of bring them along together. I think that's not going to be feasible. And so, the ball is really in their court. They will analyze, this is their data, they will analyze the impact on the project and come back and talk to us. Certainly we'll have that, I think, by the next meeting. I don't remember exactly when they're, a 4-month period. Seems like it runs out about the time of your next meeting. So I anticipate we may have presentation from them. I'll try to guide this that way so that they can come back with their revisions and something else for us to really look at that takes into consideration not just the hotel study, but the things that we've asked them to do and change in terms of the items that they proposed in their original RFP response. So my apologies for not being able to share it. I hope you'll understand that these things, there's an expectation of confidentiality and a need for that from their side. At some point, I'm sure we'll be ability to share this, but for now, it's strictly confidential. So to the extent I can, I'll answer any questions.
Questions from Mr. Hill? Mr. Aldridge?
Since we're aware that 2 hotel feasibility studies have gone the wrong direction for us, do they have any kind of a plan B should theirs not work as well?
Yes, they did have a plan B. I think that they see, as I recall, and Rob, you were involved in these, and I'll defer to Steve, to whoever the team, my memory was their plan B was more residential. And that could be condos, so it could be purchasable units, or it could be apartments. So that it was sort of the main level was going to be commercial, mixed use, and then above that would be residential. And that was one where we pushed back on a little bit. We wanted to see something besides just residential.
Right, and by all means, the hotel is most desirable, but we just, again, we've had very limited success with that. And they're also aware that the agency, or not the agency, but the area, doesn't have 3 or 4 years to wait, kind of thing.
Yeah, when we last had substantive conversations with them, they said, we hear that you want a hotel, let's do this bill.
I guess I just would add, Mr. Owen, that this was actually a positive hotel. It said a hotel will fly, it said a hotel should go to downtown Colorado. The problem it said is the finance, and I think that's, again, something we couldn't control, and I don't know what that means to the project in terms of whether that goes forward or not, or whether they'll come back with something that says, let us do all the rest of the stuff and then come back with a hotel in a couple of years. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, when we were talking about timeline, I'm thinking 2022, we're all done, there's nothing, we're still not.
So 2020, when the agency sunset, it doesn't mean construction has to be complete. So it's an ongoing project, we can extend the life of the area, they just want to see any tax, there won't be a tax benefit from it.
They'll be entitled to finish the construction. The agency will be entitled to oversee the terms of the development of this position.
Chairman, for difficulty, as I recall, the time, there were multiple structures involved, weren't there? There was one that would be residential and hotel, and then other commercial, buildings too. Correct. Would all three of these, in a best case scenario, go up concurrently? Or would we talk about having them staggered? What's the best way to approach that?
The original proposal was to do, the residential over commercial structure first, with the one that had parking structure in it. And then follow that on a second phase with, the they call it commercial building. Right, it was certainly going to be commercial, mixed use on the main floor, the ground floor. And then, you know, perhaps some more residential, some office space above, perhaps hotel. I mean, they hadn't fully fleshed out exactly what that would be. They then talked about doing them together when we wanted that commercial building to be the first phase. They said, well, maybe we'll just do it together. You know, I can't speak exactly to how this is going to affect them, but I'm anticipating that, you know, if a hotel is desired, they're going to have to push that.
Any other questions for Mr. Hildy? Thanks, sir. All right, well, that takes us to chairman's report. I don't really have anything special to share. I just got over updates on everything. I guess I would hope, and I think one of the things we have to continue to look at is, you know, Caldwell and Idaho in general are kind of the anomaly in a lot of this. We still have a very strong housing market. We still have, you know, reasonably strong economics happening. So I'm hopeful that that'll weigh in the influence of some of this investment and lending as we go forward. Mr. Falk's going to attest that there's still great interest in the area and people making plans to invest and build in Caldwell. And if they look very deeply, they'll see that the need for some amenities like a downtown hotel is increasing, not flat or decreasing. So hopefully we can just sort of keep that positive flow going. Any reports from commissioners as well? Jonathan? Or anybody on the phone, Mr. Ramirez or Mr. Wagner?
I'm sorry, Chairman.
Yes.
Okay, and just really quick, I don't know if Mr. Thompson is still there, but I was just gonna say that.
He just left.
My previous, oh, did he?
Yeah.
So, he, in my previous life as a planner for the city, he was a great person to work with. So many times when we worked with developers and builders, they were always on their minimum standards. As you can tell by his building down in Sky Ranch, they went above and beyond, not only the construction, but the landscaping and everything. Just, they went a step ahead of all that. So just kudos to him. Even though he's not there to hear it, kudos to him. Everything he does.
Well, I hope, we'll have, make sure that those are incorporated in minutes and we can send them off to them. So, yeah, so we appreciate that kind of development and they have been a quality partner for us. Mr. Wagner, I also appreciate your mention of the business climate in Caldwell. I know it's difficult to stay safe and do great business, but it sounds like we're doing our best to try to get there as well. Keep up the good work downtown too.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, if there's no other business before us, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. So, move by Mr. Alpert, second by Ms. Warwick. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are done. Thank you, gentlemen. And ladies. I was speaking to the phone first.